Welcome to Africa's Next with me, Demarco Mensah. Africa's Next is an initiative of Voice to the Nations and Break the Silence organization that seeks to throw the spotlight on entrepreneurship as a developmental industrialization, continent building, and advancement tool. Africa's Next is a special entrepreneurial mentoring program that is set to mentor Africa's next superpower generation. We aim to achieve this by pairing seasoned entrepreneurs with a passion for Africa's development and advancement with up-and-coming entrepreneurs to provide direct mentoring and access to funding for the entrepreneurial endeavors. Over the past weeks, we have been giving you mentors upon mentors, entrepreneurs upon entrepreneurs, and today is no exception. Today we are speaking to a gentleman who has made a name for himself all the way in the USA. Our guest for today is Enoch Glover, a problem solver and entrepreneur IT leader with proven experience leading business strategy, application management, help desk support, change management, and technical teams. He has expertise in development of enterprise support help desk, application management, and IT infrastructure. He has worked with executive management to set up company technical and strategic goals and accountable for execution. He uses active and practical approach direct employees into IT department to attain the company's strategic goals and expertise in evaluation of applications during mergers and acquisition. We're talking about somebody who has seen it all when it comes to IT and infrastructure. Mr. Glover is also an experienced entrepreneur, currently owns a commercial cleaning business and a hair restoration clinic. And he has a passion in developing minds. He hopes to use this experience to help others realize their entrepreneurial goals. So this is the gentleman we're speaking to today on Africa's Next. But before we get into our interview, we'd have to rush for a quick commercial break. When we come back, our interview begins. Remember, this is Africa's Next Mentor and Africa's Next Superpower Generation. I want to say a big thank you to our sponsors, Break the Silence, and for being our proud sponsors. A big thank you to you, the audience, for constantly tuning in and listening or joining in Africa's Next. My name is Enoch Glover. A quick commercial break. Remember to go to our various social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram, and also on YouTube. Go there, send us a message on Africa's Next SPG. Africa's Next SPG. Go there, send us a message, tell us which mentor you would like to be paired with to learn from. Please go there, like the page, share the page, invite people to like the page. Let's go for this commercial break. When we come back, we begin our conversation with Mr. Enoch Glover.
Africa is on the precipice of a breakout onto the world stage in a way and manner that has never happened before. And at Africa's Next, we are poised to enable this advancement. We believe in mentoring the next superpower generation of entrepreneurs to enable them push Africa onto the world superpower stage. At Africa's Next, we are pairing seasoned mentors, industry experts and professionals, policymakers and social change advocates, etc., with upcoming entrepreneurs across Africa to offer mentoring opportunities. Mentees stand a chance to access funding after successfully completing their mentoring program. Join the discussions on our social media handles at Africa's Next SPG on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and be part of our privileged entrepreneurs who get to be mentored by the world's best. Welcome to Africa's Next, mentoring Africa's next superpower generation.
From the commercial break, is still live on Africa's Next. This is mentoring Africa's superpower generation. We are grateful to our sponsors, Break the Silence and Voice to the Nations, for being there for us. A big thank you to the audience for constantly staying tuned. My name is Enoch Glover. Today, we are having an insightful discussion with Mr. Enoch Glover. Go to our various social media platforms. It's Africa's Next on Facebook, Africa's Next SPG on Instagram, also Africa's Next SPG on YouTube. Go there, send us a message, like the page, tell us the mentor you would like to be paired with to learn a lot from. That is very, very important. I think it's time we welcome our guest to the interview. Sir, greetings to you, Mr. Enoch Glover.
Thank you, sir. So actually, I believe you and I share something in common, right?
Yes, we do share something in common. Yes.
Absolutely. We both have the name Enoch.
Yes. Most people don't know that is my middle name, though. Enoch Mensah.
There you go. Well, listen, thank you for having me. Definitely appreciated the opportunity, the ability to be able to share my experience, my my vision, what God has blessed me with to, basically help the next person, further their journey along. For those that I don't know, I'm originally Ghanaian. I was born in Ghana.
Okay.
So right there in Labadi.
Okay.
Yeah, most people, when they hear my name, or I would talk to a lot of people on the phone, and normally the last name kind of throws them off. And then when they meet me and I'm Black and I'm African, it kind of throws them off. It's like, hey, we thought you were a white guy because of your last name. But no, I'm right again, born in Ghana, grew up in La, right by the Labadi Beach. And, been in the U.S. for over 30 plus years now.
Wow.
Still keep very close knit to people in Ghana. So yeah, again, I'm here to, answer from the heart, any questions that you guys may have for me.
Yes, you mentioned a bit about yourself. Can we talk to us about probably family? What does Mr. Enoch Glover, what does he do in the USA?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I have 3 kids. I have a 17-year-old boy. I have a 16-year-old boy and a 5-year-old daughter. That kind of just changed everything for us. Again, I've been in the States for many, many years now. I've been in IT my entire life. I got my bachelor's degree in computer science, my master's in technology management, and then I also did some executive management courses at the University of Darden in Virginia as well. So just had a lot of exposure in the IT world, from starting off from a help desk person to developing to analyst to management to the executive side to strategic management all the way through. But I mean, in a nutshell, that's what in free time I kind of spend time. I like being home, so I always love being home, working out. The 2 things that I really enjoy.
Well, I think it's time we get deeper into our conversation for the day. We would like to know, you have been in the US for over 30 years. What is it there about the technological world, like other places, let's say in the west side of the world, as you have experienced both worlds? You have experienced Ghana, you know what's happening in the Western world. Technologically, how is the world like, and how can we also use that as a passion to develop Africa?
So, the one thing that I believe separates, Africa from a lot of the, of the other, actually the West is, it's really, to me, it's just about mindset, right? And what I mean by mindset is the discipline to be able to see something and the vision and having the resources to go after it, right? So, in the US, you come up with an idea, there are many avenues that you can, go after in order to make that idea come true, right? In Africa, what I'm finding is, it's a little bit tough, right, to get an idea from inception, and the ability to be able to take that idea and easily go to someone where you're able to express that idea and then, bring that idea to life. So from a technology is, very, very fast, on this side here. Again, anybody get an idea, they take it, they're quickly able to, to run with it. As a result, the reason why patents becomes very important, right? Because we're in a world right now where it's just full of ideas, and data is becoming one of the key things right now when it comes to technology, right? I mean, everything we do right now is about data, or it's about the ability to understand what somebody's doing and the idea to take that data and monetize it, whereby you're able to get more information from it and then push more to that person what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. So, those are, to me, I think the 2 key things is the mindset that we Africans have that we need to change. And then you add the technology to it, and the resources, the ability to be able to push ideas very quickly is where I believe, we have a huge gap and we will need to close.
Can you tell us about some of the technological trends that are not yet popular in Africa, or probably have never heard about it in Africa, that is now popular in the USA?
So I mean, right now, I really believe cybersecurity is one of the biggest things, right?
Okay.
I mean, security around, all of everything that we do, privacy, security, the ability for different nations to, to protect the data, to protect information is really where it's at. Because if you think about it right now, everything that we do right now is on social media, right?
True.
The whole war can be fought on social media just based on, data alone, right? The days of the ability to, to go to war, take a gun and shoot somebody, or, people come back to them, is very different now, right? People can shut down an entire nation just going on the cyber side alone. So, cybersecurity is one of the areas that I believe is booming. And as we look more in the future, I think it's even going to become even more key for, everybody around.
What do you think will be the problem why cybersecurity is not as big in Africa as compared to the Western world?
Well, one, I think when you think about Africa, we're plagued with so many things, right? That we are more focused on the basics, right? You can tell me I need to worry about, cybersecurity when, most of the people are in need of food, right? Right. When most of the people, need electricity, right? So when the basic is not there, you cannot, stretch to even go, any further if you haven't taken care of the basic needs of the people. And I really think that's really, again, for us as a country, as a continent, that's really what is, is really, you can't study, you can't further your mind on an empty stomach, right? You can further your mind when you have kids that you need to, send to school and you don't have the school fees for, right? So we need to take care of the basic needs. Then it allows people to then have the time to think and to think clearly and to bring ideas. So I think, that's really, one of the key things that, it's a challenge for the continent right now. And we need to solve that first. And I think once we solve that, then we'll be able to see much more bigger ideas.
What do you think African IT entrepreneurs should be looking at when they think of advancing Africa, the continent, through technology?
So it goes back to basic, the similar thing I said before is, let's stop shooting too much for the sky and just think about what our basic needs are, right? You go to Africa, we have issues with electricity, right? How do we solve that problem, right? We have issues with sanitation. How do we solve that problem? We have issues with clean water. How do we solve that problem? We have issues with communication. How do we solve that problem, right? To me, let's focus on the basics first. Once we get the basic done, then we can, aspire to do other things, right? Again, we can think about building an upside down train when trains that we have sitting there that, is running to the ground is not even taken care of, right? So, and as you all know, we got to crawl before we walk. First, let's take care of the basic needs that's plaguing our people.
So, with all what you're saying, look as if we are far off from the West. How far do you think technologically, how far do you think the continent is far off from the West? And how do you think we should plan of catching up?
So honestly, we're very far. I mean, very, very far off, right? Wow. How do we catch up? I don't think we will ever catch up.
Whoa.
Right? Because just too much time has passed, and too much of the basic things that we need, the infrastructure, right? Again, communication, electricity, right? How do you expect somebody to build something where they don't even have electricity to do what they need to do?
True.
Right? So I think we're very, very far off, and I really don't believe that we can catch up to the West, right? I think we can get very close, but I don't think we will ever catch up because, just in this area, the ideas are always coming out, right? And you have people where the majority of people, are not having to worry about the basic needs that we have to. So they're always moving, right? Being in IT, at the age I am right now, when I think, 30 years back, I mean, IT has changed so much. Well, to the point, I'm very much outdated myself, right? There are folks that I work with that comes into work, very young, young men, where the way they think is totally different from the way I think now, because, the world is just changing, right? And I think, Africa, we have not, I mean, are there things that are getting better? Absolutely. Right. But again, I think I go back to the basic needs of our people. We have to take care of that first. Until we can take care of that, there's no way we're going to fly, anything to space.
You made it clear that it looks as if we can never catch up. Will it be advisable if we say we try something, we move on from catching up, but we start our own new system or our own new technological, create something new, so that we can also build our own new environment? Do you think that would be a nice move?
I mean, absolutely. That is, and comparing. Yes, we're in a global economy where, you have to look at someone to say, okay, I need to catch up to that person, right? But at the same time, I think, what you just mentioned there is correct. Let's focus on what we can focus on, right? Let's carve out what we can carve out. There's so many things in Africa in terms of natural resources, in terms of needs that we can meet, right? Let's focus on those first.
So, and the sad part is that for Africa, at least as if when it comes to the various continents, we are the bottom part when it comes to technological development. The West are taking the lead. The Asians in the past years have been catching up every moment. They are pushing to take the center stage in technology and other areas, as well as the question is that how can Africa compete with people who are taking the whole IT entrepreneurship to a different level?
So one of the other things that comes to mind is why also I say Africa is not going to catch up is this fact. Most of the brilliant minds, when we come up or we're growing up in Africa and we go overseas, where do we end up at? We end up overseas. Who gets the benefit of the knowledge and on the minds overseas? Right. We're taking everything there. Right. And part of the issue is because, again, when we look at our continent and you want to come back and do certain things, things are just being made so difficult that it's very hard to thrive in that environment. The continent, Africa, I'm talking about. Right. And so part of the issue why, yes, we would say that, the Western world is quickly advancing is because anytime, any of us, most of us we want to take it abroad. We want to take it to Europe. We want to take it to Asia. We want to take it to, to the U.S. So a lot of the knowledge and a lot of the innovations, yes, we are involved in it. But guess what? We're involved in a way it's really benefiting some of these other continents versus us.
So I'm sure there are a lot of IT entrepreneurs listening to the show today. What are some of the technological innovations, in your opinion, that we can either create from scratch or innovate or subsequently implement to begin to give us a chance to leading the world with our advancement technology?
So, I think everything right now from now till, for many decades to come is going to be around data, right? So, what I would really push for, those that are watching this show is how do we really brainstorm and think about all the things that goes on in Africa? How do we collect all of that data and basically try to make some kind of sense out of it? Because there's a lot of things that's happening in Africa, but we don't have a way to capture it, right? Capture that data. How do we analyze that data? And then to take it and then, spread it and figure out ways we can solve issues, right? There's just so much information in Africa, but we don't have a way to consolidate that information. Right. So I think that's really where we need to start is the big question of, okay, there's a lot going on. Yeah. You go to Africa, people are on their phones, people are, doing things, ordering this, how do we really pull all of that data together and then make sense out of it? That's the big question on the table.
I think it's a beautiful idea. And for the listeners, those who are listening to the show, the IT personnel who are listening to the show, this is a good idea for you. Go out there. Let's start accumulating data. let's start getting information on how systems work, how Ghanaians react to various things. And I think from there, we can know the type of technological infrastructure we can put together to help the continent get a level we expect it to. I was very happy when you talked about the fact that you had your degree and also had your master's all in IT. Let's talk about technology and education. As an African IT entrepreneur from the diaspora, who has also had the opportunity to live in Ghana at some point in development, do you think we invest enough in technological education in Ghana?
No. All right. So, you know, growing up, you know, I went to, I don't even know if it's called elementary school or whatever. You know, I kind of forgot. But, you know, I went to primary school, yes. So I went to George Washington when I was there. And then I went to ATTC for a period of time, right? I think in terms of when it comes to technology, what happens is the fact that, and again, it goes back to this basic thing. You have a parent, you're growing up, right? Parents are not probably too well off. The first thing they want to think about is how do you sustain their home, right? They don't have the time and the resources to send you to go do all of this, you know, pie in the sky stuff. For example, myself was very smart, but at a very young age, where did they send me to learn? They sent me to learn metallurgy, which is basically the study of metals, right? So I was basically doing welding. Right? You want to do something that quickly can bring you money into the house, right? Basically a trade. And there's nothing wrong with a trade, right? But then let's take it for a moment and flip it. Now we actually at a time now where making money is very, very simple. You can get on the internet, you can have an idea, and because, you know, the global world is basically at your fingertips, there are many simple things you can do to earn money, right? Or to make money, right? So we need to really start teaching within our schools. Now, don't get me wrong, education is right. What I tell my boys is, yes, get an education, right? But think more about what can I do? What is a passion that I have that I can really work on, that I enjoy? And yes, it's going to create a better life for me, right? So, you know, how much technology do we have in the schools in Africa to make sure that we're exposing our children to all of this stuff, right? How many kids have access to the internet? How many kids have access to iPads? How many kids have access to, again, you know, electricity? How many kids have access to this vast majority of data that is out there in the world that at any point you can punch in anything and get any information back, right? So when it comes to technology, no, we're lacking, extremely lacking in some of those areas. I was in most of those areas because we need to start teaching our kids or our young folks how to think, right? When I came to Africa about maybe 2 years ago, you know, you sit back and you watch and you're like, there's so many business ideas out. And I'm like, how come these people don't see it? But it's because the mentality of some of our folks is just so different. It's very short-sighted. We're not looking long-term. Okay. So from a technology perspective, we are lacking, right? How many computers do we have in schools? Again, internet, all of this stuff. These are the things that, to me, you know, we got to start pushing into our educational system.
Does it look as if technology has a future in Africa?
It does. I think there's a lot of things that will have to change, right? We have to focus. So I mean, even here in the West, even though, you know, teachers are very, very poorly paid here, right? There are many schools that, yes, don't have the technology in the classrooms, right? In Africa, I think we need to change again, whether it's the government, whether it's a group of people that need to come together to make sure that if technology is something that we need to push, we have to make it very pointed and be serious about it to make sure that we're pushing it in our schools. If we don't, then no, it wouldn't have a future.
Wow. We have an insightful conversation with Mr. Enoch Glover. He's an IT entrepreneur, giving us ideas upon ideas on how we can carry Africa to the next level when it comes to IT infrastructure. We're still live on Africa's Next. We need to go for a quick commercial break. When we come back from the commercial break, we continue our discussion or the interview with Mr. Enoch Glover. I want to say a big thank you to our sponsors, Break the Silence and Voice to the Nation. I also want to say thank you to you, the audience, for constantly tuning in into Africa's Next. My name is Enoch Mensah. Remember to go to our Facebook page, our Instagram page. Go there, search for, go to Facebook and Instagram, search for Africa's Next SPG. Africa's Next SPG. Go there, send us a message, like the page, and tell us the mentor you'd like to be paired with to learn a lot from. Go there, Africa's Next SPG. Africa's Next SPG on Facebook and Instagram, and also on YouTube. We are back to continue the conversation with Mr. Enoch Glover. This time around, we are taking it a notch higher when we come back from the commercial break. Stay tuned. We are back after this.
Africa is on the precipice of a breakout onto the world stage in a way and manner that has never happened before. And at Africa's Next, we are poised to enable this advancement. We believe in mentoring the next superpower generation of entrepreneurs to enable them push Africa onto the world superpower stage. At Africa's Next, we are pairing seasoned mentors, industry experts and professionals, policymakers and social change advocates, etc., with upcoming entrepreneurs across Africa to offer mentoring opportunities. Mentees stand a chance to access funding after successfully completing their mentoring program. Join the discussions on our social media handles at Africa's Next SPG on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and be part of our privileged entrepreneurs who get to be mentored by the world's best. Welcome to Africa's Next, mentoring Africa's next superpower generation.
Still live on Africa's Next, mentoring Africa's next superpower generation. Big thanks goes out to our sponsors, Break the Silence and Voice to the Nation. We're also grateful to our special audience for constantly tuning in into Africa's Next. My name is Enoch Mensah. On today's discussion, we are having an interview with Mr. Enoch Glover. Before we get back into the interview, please go to the Facebook page, go to our Instagram page, go to our YouTube page, Africa's Next SPG, Africa's Next SPG. Send us a message indicating the mentor you would like to be paired with to learn a lot from. Let's get back to our interview. Sir Glover, welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Let's talk about Africa now. How and where do you see Africa in the next 5 to 20 years? Generally, with regards to technology industry, where do you see Africa?
I think we will definitely be further along in the next 5 to 20 years. But in order to do that, the first thing again has to be, key focus on exactly how much technology do we want to expose our people to, right? If we get some focus on data, I think that would be a great thing. As you guys know, I'm sure Facebook, is pushing to get to Africa. Google is pushing to get to Africa. And why are they doing it? Because they see exactly what we have and how they can take all of that and monetize it. So I really believe with these companies coming in, they will come in and and they will use some of our people, and hopefully we'll learn from it and we're able to take some of the knowledge we're able to learn from, and push Africa a little bit forward. So I think we will be further along, but we have to be very, very intentional to say Africa as a whole, this is where we want to focus in terms of technology.
You go to the likes of China. We all know when we go to China, their social media is even different from that of the West. Do you think it will be prudent for Africa to walk in that path, where we also start getting our own social media platforms, getting our own technology that suits our conditions in Africa?
Absolutely, right. So when you look at Africa, it's a huge continent, right, with many people. So yeah, it begs the question, why can't we build our own? Why can't we focus on the things that interests us as a people, and basically, build around that. Right now, the tricky thing there is this: anything from the West or anything out of Africa, we Africans always view that to be the best in the world. Right? We cannot do that, right? Because then what we're doing then is that basically we are then building towards something else that is truly not us, right? So again, it begs the question is, what do we as Africans want to do outside of, the other continents around us, right? That's the focus that we need to have. We are people with our own culture, and with our own economy, with our own everything. How do we look at that and say, hey, this is what we want to do, versus always trying to do what somebody else is doing?
Can Africa industrialize itself through technology or revamp our industry sectors using technology?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a gentleman I saw on Facebook the other time where, with this whole COVID thing happening, has been able to build this water fountain where, you put your hand in it. I think he has a gallon. Right, So, I mean, the minds are there, right? And yes, they've taken, certain technology and now been able to, to apply it to, to basically a need, something that is needed, right? So those are the things we need to look at. It's okay, we have a problem. How do we solve it, right? And again, technology is going to be a big part of that. And so, yeah, I mean, from mining gold, from, cocoa, from, all the stuff that we have in Africa, technology plays a big role in it. Because at the end of the day, right, yes, you can have a lot of people doing many things, but once you bring in technology is able to automate many things that, one person can do. So yeah, technology is going to be a big piece of it.
How big the task is going to be reindustrializing through technology? How big is it going to be?
One is going to be huge. One is going to take a change or a shift in mindset, right? Two is going to be something that very focused from top to bottom. We have to make sure that as a continent, we are committed to it. And that always goes back to, to all the way back to our leaders, right? So again, it has to be that huge of a shift where our mindset is changing. It's not always us trying to emulate somebody else, right? And then two, to bring in that technology means that, yeah, they have to be focused. We have to put people in place that understands the technology, people in place that can partner with other people, of knowledge, and bring the technology back into Africa. Now, you can take a technology that already exists, and we can think about, well, how do we change it to fit our needs, right? It's not take something and bring it exactly the way it is, right? For example, another thing which was very interesting, I was on social media the other day, and somebody have made a thing for watch it where they call it watch it in the bottle.
Yeah, watch it in a jar.
Watch it in a jar, right? Yes. And I looked and I'm like, if I have to eat my watch it and I have to go through all of this stuff to open up the cap, to try to pull it out before I get to my watch it, it's too much, right? So these are some of the things that I'm saying we gotta. Is it an idea? Yes, but it's an idea of, okay, how well is it going to impact and change lives? Wow. Right? Because in Africa, yeah, people want things fast and we want things very quick as well, right? So it's not every idea that's going to be a good idea as well.
Still on our conversation, we would like to know if there are innovations of particular interest that you believe African leaders and governments can invest into hastening our steps towards global recognition as a continent with regards to technology.
I believe, again, that we have to change the way we are thinking, right? And so it's not so much the technology, it's so much about how do we take our young folks in and how to think analytically, right? Okay. And how to think about, okay, if I have a problem, or even how to recognize a problem to say, let me solve it, right? So those kind of things are things that is going to, it's going to have to be, to be thought in the classroom, right? It's not just, what is 1 + 1 is 2 anymore, right? We need to change the mind of our young folks that are coming up to think very analytically, because that's where it has to get to, right? Because the thinking comes first before the technology, right? You can have a great technology in front of you, but if you don't know how to find an issue and think through the problem and then apply the technology to solve it, you can have technology all day long. It wouldn't really move anywhere.
This is an interesting conversation, and I'm learning a lot personally. relating to even the Wache example that you gave. I think we copy a lot blindly on this continent. We focus on we just picking up what somebody has done, just come and franchise or probably copy blindly, and it doesn't really suit into content when it comes to Africa. What do you think should be the way forward with that? Should we still be doing that because they said probably somebody has done it, I'll work for the person? Why don't also try it? Should our entrepreneurs here should constantly be copying from the West, or you think it's time we start our own industry relating to something creative, something new?
I think we need to create so it's twofold. Something new will come from ideas, right? Ideas that have not been born. So, that's something new. Now, there's nothing wrong with taking something that already exists and enhancing it.
Okay.
Right? Because now you're adding value to it.
Value to it, okay.
Right, yes. So, yeah, are there things, outside of Africa that is very valuable that we can take? But when we take, let's not take it blindly, but let's take it to figure out a way, okay, well, how can I enhance it to make sure that, it meets the needs of my people, right? Going back to this example of this, watching in a jar thing, right? Yeah, it's an idea, but now you have an idea. How did you think about the usability of it and applying it to people where if I'm hungry to eat, I don't want to spend too much time opening up a jar. I don't want to spend too much time having to, to pull, something out of there. I just don't have that because, we are that kind of people, right? And the world has become that kind of people. They want things and they want things fast, right? So first, to create something of our own, first, again, it has to come from the mind, right? How do we sit down and say, okay, we see a problem in Africa. How do we solve it? That's one. That's going to be new ideas. And then two, yeah, there are other things out there that has already been done, but how do we take it and how do we then enhance it to better fit what needs to be solved? And again, all this goes back to a shift in how we think.
Do you think we are ready to accept new stuff as a continent? Do you think we are ready to accept new technology?
Yeah, interesting question. So the answer is yes, right? But my but to that is this. We have reached a point where we feel that if something is created by someone of a dark skin or African descent, it's not well received as someone that's abroad, right? So how do we get our people to value the knowledge and the things that we create, right? In terms of new ideas, you have an idea where someone black will come up with that idea. Another white person will come up with that same idea. Guess, which one we're going to value more?
We lean more onto the white side.
Exactly, right? So the answer is that, yes, are there ideas that, can be brought forth? Absolutely. We have as good, brilliant minds as anybody else in the world. But we have to first learn to cherish that. And we have to first learn to make sure that, okay, hey, if this person brings up this idea, it's a good idea, not because, that person is white.
White or black. Wow, that's some deep thoughts in there. It's still live on Africa's Next, mentoring Africa's next superpower generation. We are grateful to our sponsors, Break the Silence and Voice to the Nation. Also want to say thank you to our audience who are tuned in all over the continent and the globe. We are going for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we continue our discussion with Mr. Enoch Glover. This time around, we are taking a look at what's happened within this year in relation to COVID-19. Remember to go to our Facebook page and our Facebook page, Instagram page, that's Africa's Next SPG on Facebook, indicating a mentor you would like to be paired with to learn from. My name is Enoch Glover. We are back after the commercial break to talk more with Mr. Enoch Glover. Stay tuned.
Africa is on the precipice of a breakout onto the world stage in a way and manner that has never happened before. And at Africa's Next, we are poised to enable this advancement. We believe in mentoring the next superpower generation of entrepreneurs to enable them push Africa onto the world superpower stage. At Africa's Next, we are pairing seasoned mentors, industry experts and professionals, policymakers and social change advocates, etc., with upcoming entrepreneurs across Africa to offer mentoring opportunities. Mentees stand a chance to access funding after successfully completing their mentoring program. Join the discussions on our social media handles at Africa's Next XPG on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and be part of our privileged entrepreneurs who get to be mentored by the world's best. Welcome to Africa's Next, mentoring Africa's next superpower generation.
We're still live on Africa's Next and mentoring Africa's next superpower generation. Big thank you to Break the Silence and Voice to the Nation for being our proud sponsor. Special thanks goes out to you, the audience, for constantly tuning into Africa's Next, indicating the mentor you would like to be paired with to learn a lot from. We're going back to the interview, and on the other side, it's Mr. Enoch Glover. Sir, welcome back from the commercial break.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
So there's one thing I really wanted to ask you. As an entrepreneur who has been in this business for a very long time, what are the opportunities for young IT entrepreneurs from Africa in various sectors relating to the kind of job that you do? What are the opportunities for young entrepreneurs?
So, I mean, the opportunities is wide open, right? And what I mean by wide open is that it depends on the individual, right? I mean, I think we have become, Africa, too complacent at times, looking for what I would call a handout, right?
Okay.
We have the mind to, just truly, push ourselves and, truly not to be like anybody else, but to be us, right? So, I mean, the world is, we're talking about, artificial intelligence, right? If we talk about artificial intelligence in Africa right now, where does it really exist, right? We have machine learning, right? Where are we on the verge of anything having to do with machine learning? We have robotics, right? Where are we with robotics? Edge computing, cybersecurity we spoke about, blockchain, right? Which was a big thing, that is, or as you say, it's a big thing that's happening right now. And so, I mean, the opportunity is there. We just need to find a way to carve our own way to create these things, right? Additionally, I think we get too complacent with coming up with an idea, and the moment we get an answer of a no, we totally drop everything. We need to start pushing forward regardless of what the no is. We need to start finding partners, right? Which is why this show is very important, right? How do we connect some of these young minds to some of these folks that can give them a little bit of encouragement and direction to make sure that, we pulling, some of our young people up, right? Because truly we are behind. We are very, very much behind, right? And the only way we can solve some of these issues, again, is by looking at problems within Africa that we can solve. And I mean, again, you look at it, there's so many, it's vast, many problems in Africa that we can solve, right? But most of the time, can we
go down a bit detailed relating to the various sectors? Probably we take health sector, agriculture sector, finance sector. Can we look at the problems in there where technology can be a tool in solving those? Can we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, if we look at our hospitals, right?
Yeah.
I mean, something as common as filling out prescriptions, right? How do we get information from a customer to the right pharmacy to make sure that prescription is filled, right?
We need to find
exactly, right? We write it on paper, right? So, I mean, we have this internet out there, which is, is vast out there. How are we utilizing it, right? You go to the hospitals, you look at registrations, right? How are we registering? How are we record keeping all our patients and the information that they, that they are providing, right? So, I mean, from the health, side alone, I mean, it's just huge, the amount of things we can do. You look at, ambulance, somebody is sick. How do we quickly get the information to the right people to get ambulance, something that is very timely to make sure that, the person can get where they need to get to. Even this, right, as simple as this, directions. How do we get direction to say, hey, somebody's dying or somebody's in trouble here? Besides saying, oh, look at that kiosk, that red kiosk over there, turn Pan Wine Junction. How do we do all of that? So, I mean, again, if you look at it, there's just so many things, transportation, electricity. hospitals, finance, common credit card, the ability to understand, credit card, to understand how people are using credit card, to extend them credit or not. Our banking system, right? You go to the bank to get your own money out. You got to stand there for hours just to get your own money out. So I mean, you look across the industry and there's just so much that we can do, right? And we don't, again, have to try to, to do something so great. Again, let's focus on the basic things that we need to create Africa for. Basic things that the need is there.
I think this makes it clear for the IT entrepreneurs who are watching us across the globe. It makes it clear for you that technology is not limited to only one sector of the economy. I think every sector has a role it plays when it comes to technology. So this idea is very great, and we are grateful for that. Let's move on and talk about the counter for 2020. The pandemic that has worried almost every industry in the world has to do with COVID-19. How has the coronavirus affected the technological industry, and what do you think should have been appropriate response?
So, in everything, there's a yin and a yang, right? I think, this COVID thing has definitely disrupted life. But from a technology sector side of it, I think it's really also, allowed people to think out of the box, right? Initially, it was all about, people occupying buildings, using, so much resources, whether it's electricity, water, all of that stuff. And the whole idea of, being chained to your desk is the only way, most of the way, to really make sure that you're productive, right? And I think what this has done is it shifted things a little bit where key technology, you look at Zoom, right? Zoom stocks have skyrocketed because what? We use that technology, And so, yes, COVID has impacted life in a negative way, but from a technology perspective, I think it's just really, open up minds to say, you know what, there's more than one way of doing things. And a lot of this technology is very, very flexible, whereby we're able to expand it and twist it and change it in any way, shape, or form that we want to, to incorporate it in our lives. So I think, yes, COVID has been bad from the deaths and, and financially, all the things that is impacted. But from a technology perspective, I think it's really woken up a lot of minds on how do we really use technology to make, life better.
Do you think the IT industry in Africa was able to strategize to strategically position the firms or businesses to invaluable two big firms across Africa during the lockdown period?
I don't believe so. Based on, some of conversations I have with some friends that are, on the grounds over there, okay. Even the ability to communicate properly to ensure that, people are well informed of, just how to manage, COVID. The working from home stuff, how many people are really going to be able to work from home? When you don't have common electricity in most homes, right? When you don't have, computers, the ability for people to take computers, every employee to take a computer home to work on, right? So in terms of, being prepared, yes, I don't think anybody was prepared for this, right? But you can see how very quickly the Western world has been able to, to just, transform and be able to, to step up to that challenge, right? In Africa, that has not been the case, right? If you can get on a trotro and drive to work, what are you gonna be doing home? Right. So I don't think we've done a good job at it. And that goes back to, again, the forward thinking, right? You can't always think about just a sunny day. And again, nobody thought of this. But did anybody ever thought about, hey, if things shut down, how do we get our workforce to properly be able to interact and still be productive, even if they're not physically in the building, right? These are some of the things that, again, as an entrepreneur and some of these young minds, they got to start thinking about. It's not always about how everything is going to go right. But when things go wrong and you have such a technology in place, you are apt to benefit from it.
So during this period of lockdown, I'm sure you're working from home.
Yes, sir. 100%.
How was the experience? How was the experience like? Tell us, how was the experience like?
You know, it's in terms of productivity, I'm able to do everything that I'm able to do in the office. Right now, the challenge is, yes, you have family at home too. You know, kids doing this, kids running, so the attention span is a little bit difficult, right? But on the other side of it, it goes back to how, you know, when you have something, you don't appreciate it, right? You know, I really would like to enjoy maybe once or twice, be able to just go to the office, right? Versus just being home all the time. So, I mean, it's been interesting, right? It's brought the family much closer together. But in terms of, you know, working, it's been, again, I'm able to do every single thing that I can do in the office. Whether, you know, we're having conference calls, you know, logging into systems, meetings, whatever it is, everything has been the status quo. But again, you know, being home is just that interruption that sometimes you tend to get.
Did it have any effects or impact with your interactions with your various team members?
Not at all. Actually zero. Not at all. Now, there have been times where there are certain things where, you know, the ability to be able to be on a blackboard or to be on a whiteboard, you know, and draw certain things, you know, share ideas. Some of those, you know, let me put it this way.
Okay.
Technology can solve all of that. Yes, you can get a whiteboard on your computer and, you know, you can draw things. But there is nothing that can fill the social interaction and the value that you get from being in someone's presence. Right? We've lost that. Okay. So, you know, that interaction, I think, is very, very valuable. And, you know, different ideas just comes from socializing alone, right? For my children, and even for all these young kids out there, and the ability that, you know, we haven't been able to be out. I ask the question, can anybody really put the monetary value on how much we've lost as a result of children, adults, the ability to socialize and mingle? So many ideas comes from that. We've lost a good 6 months of that. Right? That's not anything we can put money on. That's not anything that technology can solve because it's nature.
That's true. That's true. So we have talked about your team. Let's talk about your clients. What was the reaction between yourself and your client, the interaction between yourself and your clients?
I mean, some of them, you know, when the financial side of it, you know, hits them, where, you know, their services are down. And so as a result, they don't need your service. And so as a result, as a business owner, this is where you have to be very flexible as well to say, you know what, I can't charge you this much. I need to bring it down a little bit because I know you're suffering, right? And that's where the partnership comes in. And so, you know, I mean, it's been challenging, right? But again, it goes back to relationships, right? In any business, as an entrepreneur, everything revolves around relationships, right? And if you can feel for that business owner, and obviously, you know, they can feel for you as well, I think you're able to, you know, to find a medium where, you know, it works for both sides. And so, yeah, you know, as things are coming back a little bit to normal, you know, you find out, okay, well, you know, now you can up your price a little bit or, you know, charge them the way you need to charge. But, you know, it was a time where, again, it's, you know, it was hard. Many businesses are closed and you can continue charging them if you're not giving services. And especially if you're in the service industry.
Do you think we can continue working from home as a means of subsidizing our office workforce and employing more people as a result of the COVID-19?
I am all up for working from home, but I think there still needs to be some flexibility to allow some level of interaction once in a while.
You said the lockdowns are now being eased a bit. How has that been so far? Integration with coming back to life. How has that been so far?
It's been very difficult. You know, I mean, even though it's been lifted, a lot of people are still very cautious because, you know, we still don't really understand this virus that well. In addition to it, you know, the numbers have started going up because, you know, there's somewhere, you know, they really don't believe that there's no such thing as, you know, COVID out there and it's killing people. And so, you know, as it was lifted, people were not putting on masks, people were not washing their hands. And so, you know, I mean, it's been tough, right? it's lifted a little bit more, but then again, obviously, the numbers are going up, and so overall, most of the people are still very, very cautious in terms of just staying home. And most of this business, for example, I still haven't been in the office since January, and I don't really know when I'm going to be going back.
So as an IT person, we realized that countries like Hong Kong and China developed apps that we could use to track movement of people suspected of contracted the coronavirus. These apps were instrumental in telling those on the network who had gone where they had gone to what they have done. How do you think these apps, do you think Africa should do next to prepare for such eventualities? Should we start preparing for apps like that? Do you think is the right way to go?
The right answer will be yes, it's the right way to go.
Okay.
Right. But if we can find water for everybody to make sure people are washing their hands, if we can have masks to make sure people have a mask, it doesn't matter what technology we have to check temperatures and track people and all of that stuff, because then it's really after the fact, right? You don't want all these people sick and now you're tracking them, right? We need to really think more about prevention first, right? And I don't think we've put the key preventive measures in place. Again, things like making sure everybody have access to soap, to washing hands, to the right facilities, the things that most of us believe that helps with the spread of COVID. So I really think that's really where the focus needs to be. Now, once that focus is there, then you can add technology on top of it, right? In the case of the other nations, Hong Kong and others, yeah, they have those facilities, and so now they can focus on how do we track it. But until we have that, tracking it without, no real way of giving people a way to try to prevent the issue, to me, is kind of backwards.
So with this tracking app, one thing it picks up a lot of data from those that have purchased the app and those who are using the app. Can you address the privacy issues associated with this kind of technology being employed for such courses? And what will happen to all the data that we have collected after the season has ended?
Absolutely. It's movement, right? I mean, you basically start to track people's movements. You know where they are. And, as we all know, as we're speaking, a lot of movement, is being tracked. A lot of conversations is being tracked. There are times when I will have a conversation with someone about, hey, this car or that car. And the next I pick up my phone and I look, and that car is being advertised.
True.
Right. So privacy is a big issue right now. And a lot of people, myself included, are very much, against that. Right. So it's, what is that fine line that you walk to make sure that, you're not giving too much at the same time. So, it's something that goes to, it's an ethical discussion, and it's a technology discussion as well. And, how do you, again, get right there in the middle where people's privacies, are not violated? And as we all know, it's a big concern in the world that we live in, how they're tracking us and our movement, what we're using, and, the collection of all of that data is, the things we did is data is powerful, right? And there's so much you can do with data, which is why the collection of the data is very, very important to, to our existence going forward.
So COVID-19 didn't even really go on the downside, and another thing just happened from nowhere. The issue with Black lives in the USA. We had the unfortunate death of George Floyd, and it sparked a new system that initially had been there for a while, but it brought a vibrant voice to it. What do you think is the main motive of Black Lives Matter?
There are many views of Black Lives Matter. There's a political view of it. I can only give you just what my view of it is, right? Every life matters, right? Wow. But let me say this.
Okay.
But if you're in the jungle, right, and elephants are being killed by poachers, I don't think you'll find a monkey coming by and say, hey, my life matter.
True.
Right? Because at that point, the life that matters is elephant's life matter. Right? And if you look back in history, I will challenge anybody to have seen white people being lynched or being hung on trees. And, people just standing, taking pictures and, enjoying in terms of history, right? There is nothing like that you will see, but you will find many Africans and African Americans where, that has been the reality for generations, right? So yes, Black Lives Matter, because that is what we see. That is what is ingrained in, in the culture here, right? That is what it is. And you can tell me that, after all this, many, centuries, that all of a sudden that has disappeared, right? There's something systematic that is there. So yes, Black lives do matter, because at this point, the rate of, of a Black man going out and coming home safely, whether they've been, stopped by, an enforcer of the law, is very, very slim. For example, myself, I've kind of changed the route where I drive, because I don't want to get caught in an area where, God forbid, a police officer stops me. It's just me and that police officer, and there's no traffic going around, right? Because people seeing it and people videotaping it has become like pretty much our only security when it comes to those type of things, right? So, absolutely, yes. So, yes, Black Lives Matter. Now, if it's the opposite and whites or other race are being killed at that rate, I will have my hand up, the first hand up, to say white lives matter, right? When my house is on fire and the fireman shows up, you don't tell the fireman, hey, what about my house? Guess what? Your house is not on fire. It's my house that is on fire. So again, there's all political stuff about agendas behind Black Lives Matter, but taking the words Black Lives Matter for what it is, plain value. Yes, our lives matter, just like anybody else's lives matter. Because right now, our lives is the lives that's on fire right now. It's under attack.
We have been talking about this for a very long time, years upon years since slavery was abolished. This thing doesn't seem to stop. From where we find ourselves now, does it look likely that it might come to an end or go down drastically?
So, I think anybody that sits here, if we look at our history, from beginning to where we are now, has there been progress? Yes. Right. There has been progress, but still, I know there are very systematic things that is still in play here where we're not going to be equal. Right. And what I tell my children and the people around me is, I don't believe we will ever live in a world where Blacks are 100% equal with whites.
Right.
That equality we're not going to achieve, right? If anybody's sitting there and think there will be ever a point where, we are all playing on an exact equal field, I don't believe it. There's always going to be, a 45% to a 55% type of a thing. There's always going to be, or even, 59 to 41, if my math is right here, right? But, the idea there is that we have to also change our thinking, right, on how we approach this stuff. So, the equality is not going to be there 100%. Absolutely not.
Wouldn't it be a fact where the only language the whites understand is money? Don't you think it would be advisable if Blacks empower each other, we patronize Black products, that putting us on the same table, giving us a seat on the table with the whites, so that we can also make decisions?
And so in some areas that is happening, right? But this is what I contend with. And this is, to me, one of the things that really saddens me about us as Blacks. When it comes to unity, we seem to be very lacking. Okay, we cannot pull together with an equal mind or same mind and say, what, this is what we're doing for our race, right? And this is why I say that. I have a friend where I'm putting on the program here for the African American young men to meet the police. He's somebody that can help reached out to him, and his answer is, oh, no, and this is a black person. Oh, my children don't need to meet the police, right? It's because he feels that, hey, he's better off, his children are better, whatever it is, right? Now, I can tell you that if you have two white people in that same conversation, and they say, you know what, this is what I'm doing, Bob's answer is going to be, absolutely, what do you need? No matter what you need, I'm there, because it's going to be for the betterment of the race. It's going to be for the betterment of our people, right? When it comes to us, I don't want to see Enoch move ahead and I'm behind, right? Because the moment Enoch is moving ahead, I got to find a way to make sure I pull him down, to make sure that I'm the one that's ahead, versus looking at collectively, us as a people, how do we move forward? Right. So those are the things that, to me, I think before we can make any real progress, like you said, money, right? If we say the amount of money that we spend, if we say, listen, together, we're not spending this kind of money, we will get the right attention. But I will tell you that most of the people will not do that. Right. We're not collective. We're not strong enough, when it comes to being united. And God forbid, if we were that united, I don't think slavery would have been able to have happened anyway.
True.
So I mean, something that is just so core to us, right? One of the biggest things where they said during the slavery time, they said the best way to control Black people and slaves is the ability to create mistrust. Make sure that the light skin doesn't like the black skin. Make sure the black skin don't like the light skin. Make sure the farmer don't like the person that's working in the kitchen. Create mistrust, right? And for so long, that's what continues to happen. And we need to bind more together, right? And when I talk about these things, I don't want anybody to misconstrue it as, oh, white people are bad. That's not what I'm saying at all. Okay. I have some great white friends. I've dealt with so many different races, in my existence here. I mean, some really, really wonderful, beautiful people. But again, when it comes down to us, focusing on us, we have to come together as a people. And that's the one thing we've not been able to do.
So that's one thing I've not been able to do. We're coming together as a people. We are still having a discussion or an interview with Mr. Enoch Glover, and he has been blessing us a lot with his thought-provoking analysis of the various issues that have popped up in the world of technology. We took a look at Black Lives Matter, take a look at also COVID-19. We need to go for our last commercial break. When we come back from the commercial break, we'll be talking about mentorship. We're talking about mentoring Africa's next superpower generation. Remember, this is Africa's next, mentoring Africa's next superpower generation. Our gratitude goes out to our sponsors, Break the Silence and Voice to the Nation. We also want to say a big thank you to you, our special audience, for constantly tuning in. Let's go to our Facebook page, go to our Instagram page, go to our YouTube page, Africa's Next SPG. Africa's Next SPG. Go there, like the page, share the page, invite friends to come over and like the page. And we can also put a message there indicating a mentor you would like to be paired with to learn a lot from. Still live on Africa's Next. Wait for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we do the end part of our discussion, our conversation, the interview with Mr. Enoch Glover. Stay tuned. We are back after this.
Africa is on the precipice of a breakout onto the world stage in a way and manner that has never happened before. And at Africa's Next, we are poised to enable this advancement. We believe in mentoring the next superpower generation of entrepreneurs to enable them push Africa onto the world superpower stage. At Africa's Next, we are pairing seasoned mentors, industry experts and professionals, policymakers and social change advocates, etc., with upcoming entrepreneurs across Africa to offer mentoring opportunities. Mentees stand a chance to access funding after successfully completing their mentoring program. Join the discussions on our social media handles at Africa's Next SPG on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and be part of our privileged entrepreneurs who get to be mentored by the world's best. Welcome to Africa's Next. Mentoring Africa's next superpower generation.
Next, mentoring Africa's next superpower generation. Much gratitude goes out to our sponsors, Break the Silence and Voice to the Nation. We're also grateful to you, the audience, for coming tuning in to our interview almost every time. We're still going back to the interview. I've told you to go to our Instagram page, go to our Facebook page, our YouTube page. Go there, search for Africans Next SPG. Africa's Next SPG. Go there, like the page, share the page, invite friends to come over and also like the page and share the page. And when you get there, just don't leave. Send us a message indicating the mentor you like to be paired with. That's the most important part. Send us a message indicating the mentor you'd like to pair with, so that we can learn more from our blessed mentors who will be blessing our interviews every time. On the other side is Mr. Enoch Glover. Sir, welcome back from the commercial break.
Thank you, sir.
So let's talk about mentorship right now. So during the COVID-19 outbreak, from the initial stages, you took it upon yourself to rally your family and some friends to send food packages to those who could not afford it at the time. Tell us more about that.
You know, I mean, to me, it's just a humane thing to do, right? I mean, we're all blessed in different capacities. You know, there's some that were just as not as fortunate as I am, and you know, I don't believe in life that, you know, you're brought here to just consume, right? Which is why, you know, I'm very much, you know, interested in this program that you guys are doing. And so, you know, at that point, you know, there were the elderly, some homeless folks that I know, you know, it was a tough time for them. And so, you know, just kind of gathered my tribe, as I call it, and, you know, went out there to, you know, to just, you know, show some love. Because now, I mean, again, at the end of the day, we can be consumers, right? Same thing with, you know, the knowledge that I have. If I can impart that knowledge to somebody else, you know, help them further along, you know, why not? But that, you know, that's really just the essence of it. That's all I know how to do. You see somebody in need, you help.
From your bio, we realized that you do more than just IT. Tell us about entrepreneurial and ventures and the impact it has had on the African community in the USA.
So, you know, and I've been in the IT world again for many, many years. And one thing that I realized is at the end of the day, I don't want my lifestyle to be dictated by either conditions that I cannot control. Right? And one of those conditions is, yes, if you work in the corporate world, at any point, numbers can translate into somebody making a decision that can totally change your life. You know, and I got to a space where it's like, yes, you make money, but at the end of the day, what value are you really adding to society? Right. And so, you know, got into the, you know, the cleaning side of it in terms of, you know, commercial cleaning, the hair restoration side. And I just truly believe that at any point in time, we, as you know, as people, you got to have multiple balls in the air, because you just never know, you know, which ball would drop. And even if one drop, you should have, you know, another one in the air as well. So, you know, I ventured out. Yeah, it hasn't been easy, just, you know, like any other business. But it's one of those things where, you know, once you realize that, you know, there's more to life than just one money. And, you know, at any point in time, anything can change, and you don't want to leave, you know, you don't want to leave how you live your life based on, you know, numbers and decisions that somebody will make that don't even know you. I think it just kind of, you know, changes your mind and lights a little bit fire underneath you that, you know, you got to one way or another, you know, control your own destiny. And even if somebody makes a decision, fine, they may make a decision, but it doesn't totally, you know, change your life. And to me, that's really just where, you know, being an entrepreneur is about, right? It's about having that flexibility and that control, and ultimately just freedom. That's really what it's about.
You look like a man who wears a cloth of many colors. We have talked about Mr. Enoch Glover, the IT entrepreneur. We have talked about Mr. Enoch Glover, the commercial cleaning company CEO. Talk about Mr. Enoch Glover as the head when it comes to the hair restoration. Let's talk about Mr. Enoch Glover as the social change worker. The passion for developing leaders and the great work you are doing in African community training, developing young Black boys into intelligent leaders. Let's talk about that one.
Yeah, so I mean, to me, I really truly believe that's what my passion is, right? I mean, I love seeing people thrive. Nothing brings me more joy than to see somebody else, doing well. And I am where I am today because, I'm a product of that. And what I mean by that is, as a young guy, I always, hung around, people that are much older than me, because, there's wisdom that you can always get from,
Yes.
from people that are older. And so, I truly believe the only way we can change, what is going on in this world is by, impacting minds. And, letting people understand, who they are, where they're from, what they can do, and truly, just the power that they have within them. At the end of this, it's just again, being human. I don't see, one person better than the other. I just want to see people, get a chance to, to better their life and, and to change the next generation. And I think, it's my turn to, to try to help change that generation. Even if it's one person's life change, right? There's something called the butterfly effect, right? And what a butterfly effect is, a butterfly wing, just by them flapping it a couple of times, can cause a tsunami, right? Because all you need is maybe just that one little push, right? And that one person, you changing their life, will have a domino effect and can change this entire world. So it's not so much in the numbers. And, people, well, what are you going to do? Is this person's life going to change? Who knows, right? It's just one simple change to change one person, and it can change an entire society. And it's me, that's just the beautiful thing about it. It's changing minds, changing people's situation. If I can leave this earth and I've done a part of that, I think, my work here would have been worthwhile.
Changing one person can't change the whole society. And that's why you are one of the mentors of Africa's Next, and you have facilitated your help to come in to help IT entrepreneurs, young and old, wanting to become industry leaders in the innovative technology that creates solutions. What do you bring onto the table?
My time, right? Time is something that once you give away, you can never take back. One of the most greatest commodities. And so, it's my time is what I'm bringing to the forefront. It's my knowledge. I always tell my boys, if you can watch somebody make a mistake and you can learn from it, you've won twice, right? Because not only have you learned from it, but also you've now avoided the pain of having to go through it. And with age, comes wisdom. So, I've lived, a good amount of time on this earth. And I think, I have, some wisdom and some do's and don'ts that I can, part to somebody else. The mistakes that I've made that I would love to make sure that, somebody else does not make that mistakes. To say, hey, instead of going left, go right. So, that's really, what it is. I have a great tribe that, have a heart for helping people. And so, if the right person comes along and they have the fervor to want to move forward, I think, anything is possible, right? What usually I found in a lot of our people is, just that drive is just not there. It's, it's always this nonchalant type of, attitude that, some of our young people seem to have these days. But, truly, just the sky is the limit, right? Whether you're in Africa, whether, where, regardless of where you're born, the sky is truly the limit. And sometimes never take for granted, all it takes is just something so simple of, just following through can totally change your entire life. So, that's what, I want to bring to the table is, ultimately my time and the little wisdom that I've been able to, to gather from my time here. And, what I've learned from IT and what I believe the trend is, just want to be able, to help push somebody in the right direction and just be that little butterfly.
Let's talk about what should these upcoming entrepreneurs know to better equip them for the technological industry? What should they know?
I think you have to be very flexible, right? You have to be very fast in your thinking. You have to think out of the box. You just really have to think out of the box. Some of the most craziest ideas, or I should say craziest inventions, comes from, just very crazy ideas, right? I mean, look at, Elon Musk, right? Today, we have, self-driving cars. He was able, to fly, stuff to space. So, I mean, it's just, just very crazy ideas, radical ideas. The ideas that people will say, no, you're crazy. Absolutely. Those are the ideas that we want, right? Because those are the ideas that, usually have the most, vast amount of impact on the society, right? And sometimes the simple things too, right? Just something so simple can absolutely, change the world as well. So, dream big. Don't accept no for an answer. Look for partners, look for people that believe in you. And at the end of the day, just do your best at it. Because at the end of the day, that's really all you got. You can say, hey, I did my best.
You did your best. I think this has been one of the most interesting interviews I've ever had in my life. I've personally learned a lot. And as I've said earlier, I don't think the wisdom is a little. This wisdom is wisdom that a lot of mentees will be very happy to be paired with you. We're wrapping up on today's interview, but we want to just get details relating to your work that you do. To give us a bit details, especially the commercial cleaning and the hair restoration. Give us big details on that.
Yeah, the commercial cleaning, you can on the web, it's cleanspace.net. So we do, commercial cleaning at night. I have people go out and, they clean businesses. The hair restoration is called Scalp Carolinas. It's on IG and it's also on Facebook. And it's basically for, men that are balding. I'm able to, help them live a better, more enjoyable life. And then the IT world, I do different things for different companies. But, in a nutshell, that's pretty what it is. You can also find me on Facebook, Enoch Glover. I do many things there. I talk to quite a few people there as well. And, one of the things with me is, hey, if you reach out to me, I will respond. Because I truly believe in connection. And I truly believe in, not leaving anybody behind. So that's where I'm at.
So we have to say you are very much grateful for honoring our interview today.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. You're pretty awesome at what you do as well, man. You need to keep it up.
I'm grateful, sir. We are grateful, sir. So I've been speaking to Mr. Enoch Glover. He is an IT entrepreneur who is making waves all the way in the USA. He's Ghanaian. We don't know. Then don't let the name deceive you. He says he is Ghanaian. Don't let the name deceive you. So we have come to the end of our interview today with our guest, sir. We are very much grateful. We want to say a big thank you to our sponsors, Voice to the Nation and Break the Silence organization. A special thanks goes out to you, the audience, for constantly staying tuned in. We want to say heartfelt thanks goes out to our production staff and crew. You guys are arguably, ended. Take one. So you have come to the end of today's interview with Dr. Joseph Assan. So, sir, we have to say we are much very grateful for the interview today. We also want to say a big thank you to our sponsors, Voice to the Nation and Break the Silence organization. A special thanks goes out to you, the audience, for staying tuned in. And our heartfelt thanks goes out to our production staff and crew, the best. Remember to send a message to Africa's Next SPG on Facebook, Instagram, on YouTube, indicating the mentor you would like to be paired with to learn a lot from him. Thank you for tuning in. My name is the Makomensa. I'm going to come your way same time next week with another exciting interview, another incredible mentor. And this has been Africa's Next, where we are mentoring and empowering Africa's next superpower generation. Thank you for staying tuned in.